The story of Jesus stilling the storm is recorded in all three synoptic gospels. But it's only Matthew that connects with this Jesus stilling the storm, Jesus walking on the water, and Peter trying to do the same. Most of us think, and a lot of preachers preach on this text, they preach on Peter walking across the water and then falling down, that whole great line from Jesus Christ Superstar. Jesus, Jesus, you're no fool. Walk across my swimming pool. They focus on Peter. The assumption is it's about Peter. The assumption is incorrect. It's not about Peter at all. Then he made the disciples get into the boat and go before him to the other side while he dismissed the crowds. And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. And when evening came, he was there alone. But the boat by this time was many furlongs distance from the land, beaten by the waves, for the wind was against them. And in the fourth watch of the night, he came to them walking on the sea. But when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were terrified, saying, "It's a ghost!" And they cried out for fear. But immediately he spoke to them, saying, "Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid." And Peter answered him, "Lord, if it is you, bid me come to you on the water." And he said, "Come." So Peter got out of the boat and walked on the water and came to Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and began to sink. He cried out, "Lord, save me!" Jesus immediately reached out his hand, caught him, saying to him, "O man of little faith, why did you doubt?" And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. And those in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." The gospel ends here. Please be seated. Please join me in a word of prayer. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. If discipleship is walking where Jesus walked, going where Jesus sent those first disciples, then this is a prime example of how costly and risky discipleship can be. Let me give you some examples. It says here that the Church of Jesus Christ is a boat that sent, Matthew says, to the other side. The other side, ladies and gentlemen, are people they've never met, places we've never been, ministries we've never done. I mean, come on, we have enough trouble getting out of our comfort zone of when we worship and who we sit next to in worship and the Bible studies that we attend and the moral standings that we support. Do we really want to go to the other side? What if that means changing your worldview? Reordering your priorities? Rubbing shoulders and holding hands with people on the other side of the tracks? It says here that it was the fourth watch of the night, which is between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning, the darkest, most dangerous, most stormy time on the sea. Does the church want to be the church then? Is the church willing to engage this culture in such diverse and divisive issues as human sexuality and health care, illegal immigration, and the Israeli-Hamas conflict? I don't know. Can't we just sing Amazing Grace and come to some potluck suppers and call it a day? It says here that the disciples were terrified, absolutely scared to death. Well, we know what that's like. We're pretty scared too, aren't we? Cancers we can't cure. Relationships we can't fix. People we can't please. Whiskey we can't resist. A past we can't shake. A future we can't face. It has been said that the mark of fear is not easily removed, and I think that's true. I think the reason that we're living in such a violent world is because more and more people are afraid, and more people have more and more things to be afraid of. Does the church have anything to say to that fear? Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in deep water. And there's a lot of people out there, and there may be some people in here who are willing to tell God to take a hike. Then I'm not particularly interested in this discipleship business. Thank you very much. Before you do that, there's one more thing about this text. In the darkest hour of the text, in the worst part of the storm, Jesus comes and says, don't be afraid. Jesus comes walking on top of the sea. Now, I want you to picture this for a moment. Jesus is out there walking on the water, and I know this is going to sound like a really stupid question. Where is the water? Under his feet. In first century Palestine, when a king defeated another king, what he would do is engrave the image of his defeated enemy on his footstool. So that when he sat on his throne and he put his feet up, his enemy was literally where? Under his feet. It's an image of having absolute authority over even the enemies that he has defeated. Jesus walking on the water is exactly that image. It's why Paul says in Ephesians that Jesus puts all things where? Under his feet. Which leads us, I think, to the most powerful part of this text. It's in the middle of that horrible situation that Jesus comes and says to them and to us, here, take my hand. Those of you who are dealing with cancer or heart disease or COPD or alcoholism or all kinds of diseases, take my hand. I'll walk with you. I'll be present with you everywhere you go. I will heal you. I will resurrect you. It's going to be either on this side of the grave or the next, but I'll be there. Take my hand. For those of you who have a relationship that's not working, that's broken, that's hurting, that's causing you an awful lot of problems and aches and heartaches and concern, Jesus says, take my hand. Go on, take it. I've given you everything that you need: forgiveness, hope, love, peace, listening. Together, you and I, we can make it work. To those of you in this room who are facing addictions, alcohol, sex, drugs, money, take my hand, Jesus says. Go on, take it. I've walked out of my tomb. I can help you get out of yours. The power of the story of Jesus walking on the sea is not Peter failing. It's the extent to which God will go to walk with you in the deep water of your life. Take my hand. Whoever you are, whatever you face, wherever you go, let's do it together. I, for one, ladies and gentlemen, would rather be in deep water with him than in shallow water without him.